Welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge, a show dedicated to helping the automotive aftermarket service industry. Covering topics suggested by you, the listener, we dive into what's important, getting you what you need to succeed. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge. We're on episode 80, and today we're going to be talking about pay plans and pay systems. Remember that if you're watching this or you're listening to this, if you enjoy anything that we're talking about, you learn something, please like and share so that others might benefit from the content that we're sharing in this. And go ahead and subscribe so you keep notified when we post new content. Today, we're going to be talking about pay plans and pay systems. On our panel today, we've got Jim Paiva, as well as Bruce Howes joining us from Elite Auto Repair and from Atlantic Motorcar Center. Reminder, if you guys are watching this and you'd like to comment or ask any questions, we are watching the comments down below, and we love to get those answered by us live as we're going on. So with that, let's turn it over to you, Dad. You want to get us started?
Yeah, guys. How important is the way you pay your employees? Does it matter that you pay them one way or the other, or whatever? Why don't we start with Bruce? I saw a head nod. So,
absolutely. First of all, if you don't pay them, they don't show up. But also, but also, you want to have a compensation plan. And I worked with you on this as well. And I don't know if there's a perfect plan out there, but I think that's something I always formulate. You want to have a plan that rewards them, for production, and also gives them a level of comfort as well.
There are some people that don't want to pay as a reward for production. There's some shop owners out there that are going to say, giving people rewards for production might make people overproduce, make mistakes, screw things up. What would you say to that?
I would say that you have to design the plan so it doesn't over incentivize bad behavior. But that's an ethical issue, and that's a company culture issue. And if you have employees and systems that are set up in a way that encourage bad behavior and don't reward good behavior, then that's a problem that you need to address before you even worry about pay plans.
I always believe that there is a real role for management in administrating, that and managing whatever system I have in play. Mm-hmm. Jim, well, obviously people have to be paid. That's not, I guess maybe I could have asked the question better. How important is the way you pay your people? Is it important? Is it better to have, like, you get $28 an hour, or do you have performance plans? What do you do in your shop, and why?
Well, let's face it. If we don't pay our employees properly, we'll lose them. So right now, I feel the employee market is just like selling a home. It's a seller's market. Well, it's an employee's market right now. So it's very important that you keep in mind, how you're paying them, and make sure that more importantly, and how you can pay them well, is make sure you're charging the right amount of money to your clients, because, labor doesn't come cheap anymore. You're paying a premium for it, sometimes half of what you're charging for your labor rate. So it's a touchy situation, but you got to think of new ways to pay people or how to treat them in order to retain them.
Well, even today, there's such a need for employees. I would almost bet that both of you could easily hire another guy in your shop, and the only reason that you don't, or you haven't, is because you just can't find somebody. Would that be a true statement at this point?
I think anybody I can find that has potential, we want to grab onto. Even if we don't have an immediate opening for that person, I'm all in favor of getting them on the bench, if you will, getting them into our culture and understand what we have to offer.
It's really an interesting time in our industry, and there are some real shifts. I don't, when I worked on cars, which is a while back, I worked on cars in the 80s, 90s, and maybe into the early 2000s. And we were always flat rate.
Mm.
If anyone doesn't understand flat rate, it's basically it's piecework. If you do this job and it pays 3 hours, you get 3 hours at X dollars, whatever that is. And then, when I got out kind of more into the world and started working with a lot of different shops, we were introduced to like an hourly or a salary rate. And I think there are problems with both. I think if you have a flat rate, I think it has a bad reputation in our industry. And I think if you pay hourly, that it doesn't motivate people at all.
Mhm.
So I'm going to start with you, Jim. Do you use a pay plan to manage your people? Is your pay plan supposed to help you manage your staff or motivate your staff?
Yeah, I do have a pay plan in place, but it's got to accomplish a few things. Incorporated into that pay plan, you need to have some low-hanging fruit. The reason being is when you can incentivize for, easy targets to hit, it helps motivate that person, knowing that they can reach, target after target and progressively keep them motivated to get to the next level. We have pay plans in place for all of our positions here based on some of that. And then, as you get more in technicians' way, as you can build more hours with them, they get their pay goes up sharply. So it's a good plan. You can't just do flat rate anymore.
Okay.
And you also got to build your pay plan around what you're trying to accomplish. And you can be creative with it. So,
and I think you have to be in a way creative, because different people want different things in
right.
your business.
Not everybody is motivated with money.
Most people aren't, I think.
When I build a pay plan, I try to consider, what do I want out of that employee? In some cases, if you're having trouble with people being on time, well, that could be a little low hanging fruit for them. To be on time, they get an X amount more per hour, be there every day, or, education or certifications. You can build your pay plan based on what you want out of them. And it also, the beauty of that, it holds them accountable as well to get the certifications, to be here on time, to be here every day. So depends what you want out of them. You can build a pay plan around it, and it'll help motivate them as well as keep you satisfied as well.
I think there's some generational things that that come into play. When I was probably in my mid 20s, maybe my early 30s, I was at a class, and the guy teaching the class, it was a shop management class, and he was like, you should, if you're having a problem with people showing up on time, you might consider having a bonus for showing up on time. And I was appalled at that because my father and his generation, if you have a job, you show up on time. It was
negotiable.
Yeah, that's not a negotiable. That's like, you don't have a job if you don't show up on time. But I think the younger generations have different thought process around that, and it's not the same for them. So I'm going to ask Kent, what do you think is important for the younger generation?
I think we view our time differently. It's not we don't come in, we clock in and we clock out. It's how did we spend that time, right? So if I've got a project that I've got to do, and I know that it's going to be a huge endeavor, if I'm really efficient with my time, I can get it done quickly, and then I've got free time that I could spend somewhere else. Right?
So hang on, because we're open from 8 to 5, and we have customers there, and they have cars there that they want to have fixed, that we need to get fixed. So how do I mean, I get it in our company. So in our company, we have more like projects, and we don't have an 8 to 5 kind of schedule here. I have a lot of people that work remotely, or Kent, you'll come in a little late, but you'll stay late, or you'll come in early and then you'll leave early, or you'll take a day off, but you'll make that time up. But when I have a business that's an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday business, how do I accommodate?
What I would say is you give them an option. So it's not hey, we are 8 to 5. You're here from 8 to 5 the whole time. What I've seen a lot of shops do, which the technicians have really enjoyed, is giving them an option between, do you want to do a 4-day where you're doing 10 hours for 4 days, and you have an extended weekend, and do you want to pick those days? Is it going to be a Monday, Tuesday, and then you have Wednesday off, and then you do Thursday, Friday, but then you give a little bit of control over their time to them. You're still making those hours. You're still working within what I guess you could say your operational hours, but now they have a choice. They have some control over it.
So hang on, because that, again, now I'm a shop owner and I've got a car that's here, and you tear it apart on Tuesday, but you're not going to be here on Wednesday because we've given you 4 10s instead of 5 8s, and then someone else has to come in and pick up the pieces because you don't happen to be here. So, but really, almost in a way, my problems don't matter, right? As the shop owner, because if I can't do what the employee needs, then maybe I just don't. I'm not the number one place that the employee wants to go. Bruce, how do you feel about that? Or because traditionally we're an 8 to 5 or 7:30 to 5:30 business.
So I think you have to be cautious about letting the employees drive the business. I think you have to have standards and understandings of what you expect out of your team members. If your employees are driving the business, it's almost like you're hostage to the employees. I think you have to develop a healthy culture that both people benefit from. There's a great saying by Stephen Covey, and I'm a Stephen Covey fan, begin with the end in mind. And so for me, I think about what's a perfect functioning business for me? What's a perfect functioning shop? My guys get there early. We have some small talk. Maybe we have some coffee, some donuts. We talk about the day. We plan the day. They're not rolling in at 7:59 to start an 8 o'clock day. And if I can inculcate those values, if I can inculcate that culture, people want to come in. And to Kent's point about the 10-hour days, we've talked about that. The challenge I have with that is that unless it's done systemically across the board, you're going to have problems that you alluded to, a car not getting finished, another tech has to pick it up, and techs hate doing that. And the other issue is, you have advisors now that somebody's going to have to work a different shift than another advisor. So I think you either have to convert to that as a company-wide thing. I have no problem with flex time. We open the doors generally at 6:45, 7 o'clock, most of the team's on site. We don't really start working on cars formally until 8, but the guys will often go out early, go out at 7:30, or if they've got a project and they know we're behind, they'll go out even before that to get on a car. And they might come to me and say, hey, I've got a Cub Scout meeting. One of my guys his children are involved in Cub Scouts. So he'll say, I've got a Cub Scout meeting. Can I leave at 4 today? Sure, no problem. He comes in, he starts early. I'm flexible like that. But I always want to set up the systems that reward good behavior. And I always want it to be, to go both ways. If you understand my meaning in terms of, hey, you've got to understand the shop's expectations. I want to meet yours. I don't want to live in fear of my employees, nor do I want employees to live in fear of me.
I was going to say the only reason that I brought that up is that, again, when I was referencing the reason, we view our time differently. We want to have a little more control about how we spend that time. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by providing an option, make sure that those options are within what works for your business. Don't just give them control of that. If you've got 2 options that work and they work within your systems and your processes and they're operational, then yeah, definitely present those, and it will give them a little more control. They'll feel a little better about it.
I think I think we're at a very interesting time in our industry, because with the tech shortage and the service advisor shortage, the employee shortage that we have, I think some shop owners are feeling that they need to be that they just can't find someone, and they're almost willing to do anything to put somebody in the bay and lose control. We have a core value in our company. One of our core values is that everyone has to win. So I can't have someone working here that it's all for them and it's not for the company, and the customer, the client, also has to get what the client needs.
Right.
So, it's kind of an interesting, I think it's a really interesting dynamic, because I think there are so many shop owners today that are out there going, what am I going to do? I mean, I have one of my clients that has lost 2 technicians, and right now he has 1 guy and 1 service advisor, and yet he has a 12 bay shop that he's paying for, and has been running ads for a month or 2 and has had zero calls or anything. Jim, how do you feel about giving the employee flexibility with schedule?
Well, every year we ask our employees to fill out a dream sheet. This sheet is a series of about 9 questions. And after they're done, we go over it and we try to help them achieve what they want, their dreams. So in that case, I give them an opportunity to state what motivates them. Sometimes money isn't the motivating factor. It might be a stable environment. It might be days off. It might be, whatever it might be that happens to motivate you. Just like working on the cars. We should do everything to help our clients, and then the money will follow. If we treat our employees the same, it creates a happy culture. And, who doesn't like working in a happy environment? And, so we try to accommodate as much as we can to keep our employees happy and develop a nice culture where we don't run across those challenges. But I try to be as flexible as I can. We have a job to do at the end of the day. And like you said, it's got to be a 3-win. The employee has to win, the client has to win, and the company has to win. If all 3 of us win, it's a happy place. So,
and the owner has to win.
Well,
if the company wins, hopefully the owner wins, right? That's, if you set it up right, that's how it's supposed to work anyway.
Right. Well,
I can just see a lot of owners out there that sacrifice themselves for the sake of the business.
That much more than you would think. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, it does, but I try to stay out of that realm of, me, so I call it the company. But yeah, if the company wins, I win.
but I think there are a lot of owners that don't, they don't feel like they have any choice, and they sacrifice themselves for the clients and for the employees. And I think over time they become resentful, but they're stuck in a place where they don't know don't know what to do or how to make it happen.
I think, unfortunately, that's much more common than a lot of folks want to admit. I think, and what happens with that is the owner is not charging enough to fairly compensate himself and compensate his staff. And then the shop is not buying new tools and not training their employees, and morale goes down, diagnostic ability goes down, cars stick on the lift, techs aren't paid well, and it just ends up being a descending circle. I mean, not to say money fixes everything, but charging fair and appropriate prices fixes a lot of things. You can pay good people, you can give them good benefits, you can buy new equipment, you can take care of clients when you need to do that extra thing. So many of these problems, I think, come from owners that aren't afraid to charge appropriately for service work, and then if they do charge, are not afraid to share the wealth.
Yeah, we definitely, I don't know. I've met a lot of owners in what I do as a coach, consultant, etc. And most of those people that I've met, the majority by far, are really nice people who would never put themselves in a position above anyone else. In fact, they would go out of their way to help someone else. I mean,
Yeah.
I think of both of you guys in the same way. If I needed something, I don't think I'd have a problem calling you or Jim and saying, "Hey, I need some help," and I would expect both of you would probably give it to me.
I think a lot of owners will not take a paycheck and pay their employees to keep their employees going. So generally, that's true.
But I think you hit kind of one of the core issues, and it's not something we were going to talk about, but if I'm not charging appropriately, then I can't pay appropriately.
If you can't pay appropriately, you're not going to keep top talent.
Right.
Just a short story. My dad, when I was working with him back in the early 90s, we were $70 an hour at that time in Palm Springs, and we were at the kind of the top of who charged. We were one of the more expensive shops in town. When I left the shop, but we had no complaints. We didn't have customers coming in saying, "I won't fix my car because you're $10 more than the guy down the street." We just didn't have that. And then I quit. I left, and my dad lowered the labor rate by $10 an hour at that time, because I think he felt like he didn't deserve $70 an hour. Like his education level, what he did for a living, didn't have that value to it. And pretty soon, he had no technicians that would work for him because he just couldn't afford to pay him. It's kind of this self-fulfilling prophecy that happens in a way.
It's funny. You hear owners, they want the best tech, they want the best service advisors, they want to have these people on their team, but they're not willing to pay for it.
But I don't think they're not willing to pay. I think they don't know how to pay.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. How can I afford this person who wants X number of dollars an hour?
Yeah,
I
don't know how many people recently. So in the last year and a half, with COVID and all of that, and especially right now, they're looking for employees, and they'll call me up and go, "This guy wants to come to work, but he wants, $45 an hour."
Yeah.
And they're like, they can't even imagine paying somebody $45 an hour. But if the marketplace dictates $45 an hour, I have to figure out how to charge the customer and build value for the customer such that I can pay $45 an hour.
Right. I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we're seeing, and I think it's already been here, but I certainly think we're going to see across the board the dawn of the $100,000 a year plus technician. I mean, I think that's going to be a good thing in our industry. I think that's going to level out our industry because it's going to force owners to charge appropriately, to run their business like a business. And I think that's a win-win for everybody, from the client to the owner to the technician. And those days are right on the horizon. Go ahead, Kev.
I was going to say, I feel like there's this dissociation between who pays the technicians and who pays your employees. Oftentimes, I think owners think I'm the one who pays them. That's not. There's one more step to that. It's that customers pay for your employees. Right. Customers pay for your marketing. Customers pay for your cost of pretty much everything it takes to run your business.
Or they don't.
Right. And
that's correct.
You pay for it.
Yeah. So I always say the customer pays for everything. I mean, they have to.
That's what business is.
Yeah, that's the whole. And then there has to be money left over for me in the whole mix. So I think it's interesting. In 2005, I was paying $100,000 to my employees and more, and we had a banging business with great culture, good productivity, etc. And even today, when I talk to some shop owners in some places, and they're like, "What do you pay your tax?" Well, I paid my best guy $22 an hour. I'm like, how do you get somebody that has the skill set, that has the tools, the knowledge, the experience at $22 an hour? I don't even starting out, I don't think we can be at $22 an hour now, maybe for a junior trainee tech.
And you might be lucky. You might be one of those lucky shop owners who has such a great culture, and the techs feel so good about working there, but they're not making any money. That only lasts for so long. You can only keep somebody like that invested in the vision
for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think even now I've talked to all of our clients and said, look, you need to be raising your labor rates right now so that you can pass that on to your employees. In fact, I think Bruce, we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
they're being hit with inflation and their dollar is not going as far as it would or should. It's an interesting time in our industry.
What was the last stat that I saw of cost of living, at least in this area? I think it went up like 14%.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more than that in just the past couple months. And that's just here in Utah. So
we just had, it's amazing. Go ahead, Jim.
It wasn't, business was not as rewarding until I was stopped being afraid of charging. Upping our labor rate, charging our right margin. And that's, and that's only happened over the last 6 or 7 years, that I was tired of working very hard and having very little rewards and not having, all the equipment I needed and all that. But it's been a life changer, charging what you should be charging. It really has.
And do you think, so when I look at all the shops that we work with currently about 200 shops in our company. And when I look at all the shops, the ones that are most consistently successful, and I would say have the best cultures, are the ones charging the most money. They're not the guy who's going, well, the dealer's 120, I've got to be 110.
So I was listening to this podcast, and it was of a guy who works for a company that basically puts financial dollar to certain endeavors in the world, right? And they were talking about environmental benefits, right? How do we keep the environment clean? And he talks about raising the cost of living for someone, right? So when someone is, and just to get to the point that I was trying to make, if someone is concerned about where their next meal is coming and they don't have their basic needs met, they will trash the environment. They'll kill trees so that they can plant crops. But the point being is, if they can't take care of themselves, they're not going to be able to do the additional things like make sure that their health is taken care of, make sure that they're, taking care of the people around them. They can't look outside themselves. So you can't be a part of a good culture if their basic needs aren't being met.
That's Maslow's theory, hierarchy of needs. I mean, absolutely. It is what it is, right? You can't. And I think that when you have employees that are making good money in your company, I don't think you can just say, here's the dollars. I think you have to have, these dollars are given to you because you do very specific things for us, but here's the dollars. And then you have people that are they're more fulfilled, and they can look outside themselves and say, okay, now I want to do some other things with my life. Like Jim, you mentioned the last 5 or 6 years, you've really kind of changed your attitude about how you charge. And, I know that we helped build some pay plans for you, and I know your guys are getting paid more now. And don't you feel like you have a better, like a much better environment? You have people that are more aware and more able to look outside themselves because of that?
Absolutely. We've been able to afford to have a clean shop now with the epoxy floors, and we have Vista, and we have air conditioning in our shop. We have a beautiful shop, beautiful facility. People compliment us all the time. We have high ratings, and yet we're high priced. Yeah. And we give great value to our clients.
That's the key word, is value.
We average 50, 60 new clients per month.
Yeah.
And it has been like that forever. I mean, it's just, every day 2 or 3 new clients come in. And yet, as long as you're delivering value, you can charge what you need to charge. I mean, we got 5 loaner cars.
Yeah.
Whoever would think, 22 years ago, that I would be able to have 5 loaner cars, have a beautiful shop, have Vista, have an air-conditioned shop. As a technician, I always wanted to have a shop that had air conditioning. That was my, and when I was working at the dealers, they didn't have air conditioning back in the day. I always said, geez, you know how much nicer it would be working in a place that has air conditioning? And here I am now with an air-conditioned shop. I mean, that's the cutest thing.
Well,
And so-
I grew up in Palm Springs, and I worked on cars in Palm Springs in a brick building with no air conditioning. And I couldn't even at that point imagine ever working in a shop with air conditioning. I mean, it just nobody gave a crap. It was like, oh, you do what you do. It's so nice to see, Bruce, your shop is amazing. Jim, your shop's amazing. Seth, I mean, there's so many guys that we work with to just have like this amazing environment. And I think the environment is even more important than the pay plan, frankly.
So value, Jim mentioned value, and that's what I was going to say. It's not about money. It's not about dollars. It's about the value you're bringing to your clients and the value you're bringing to your employees. And that's the way you present it. So if you're charging a lot of money, but you're not providing value to the client, they're not going to come back. You can be paying people a lot of money to work for you, but if you have a terrible culture and environment, people are not going to want to stay in that. People will not stay for money. They'll stay for culture. So I think the answer is yes, money is important, but the important thing is what value, what are you bringing to that person? Whether it's the guy with the car or whether it's the guy that's repairing the car, right?
And I think the guy that's repairing the car is in many ways more important than the guy with the car, because if the guy that's repairing the car is happy, then the customer is also going to be happy, the client.
Absolutely.
I had, before we go to commercial, which we need to, we're going to go to, Kent's going to do our short commercial here. Isn't it like we need to build these businesses that reward people and make people feel fulfilled and help them take care of their families correctly, right?
Right. Exactly.
All right, Ken, it's all yours.
That's a perfect point to take a break. When we get back from this little break, what I'd like to get into is kind of a more step-by-step approach. So what can shops do to get from A to B, and maybe shops who aren't able to pay the right price, and then get into the more advanced, how are you guys utilizing different types of pay plans to incentivize different types of behavior? So
absolutely.
But I'd love to get into that after this. So thank you guys for watching this. If you're still listening, please like and comment down below so that we know that you are engaged. And if you hear something you like or you learn something, please give us a share so that others might benefit from the content that we're trying to share with you. And if you want to keep up to date on stuff we post, make sure to subscribe. We actually have those of you who are looking for service advisor training, because I know that's kind of a hot topic lately because we're losing service advisors. We don't have a lot coming in. And so there's a kind of a juggling thing that's going on with service advisors. If you'd like to get them trained, we are actually opening up our service advisor mastery program to the public. We have a summit that we have with them where we have games, competitions, training, education, awards, all of that good stuff coming up on September 18th and 19th this month. I know this podcast is going to be pretty close to that, but you can still register at the link in the description below. It's going to be the same cost as 1 month within the program. So you guys can come and take a look at what we do within the industry's most advanced sales training program. And that's it. That's all we have for that. And let's get back to the good stuff.
So, and you can come to gearforshops.com and find all of that. All right. So now, Jim, when were you guys flat rate and you changed, and when and why did that happen?
Well, over the years, we've had a whole bunch of different pay plans. For us today, I would have to say it depends on what position you're in and what you're trying to achieve. For me, a technician, I want 4 things. I want them to be productive. I want them to be educated. I want them to be to work on time, and I want them here every day. Whereas my shop foreman, for instance, he has on a different pay plan. I expect limited productivity for him because he's doing duties in the shop and helping other technicians, fix cars. So I don't expect him to be, super productive, but, he also has points where if he does, 25 hours is an X amount, 30 hours, another one. But more importantly for him is by him helping our technicians, we're as a shop, we're going to build more hours. We're going to have more billable hours for our other technicians. So he gets paid on billable hours for that he does, billable hours for the whole shop, and then also increase in the productivity percentage-wise from every tech. Where my service advisors, they're on a weekly salary plus sales bonuses and average repair order bonuses. And then, of course, they have their monthly bonuses for the total for all month, as well as average repair order for all month. That's where they'll get sometimes $2,000 or $3,000 checks just on bonuses. So that so far has been our most successful plan for pay, but it changes. You never know what's going to pop up next according to your needs or their needs or the market. So for now, that's what we are using.
I think one of the issues is, you have this super tech that you make the shop foreman, and you still want him to be the super tech, but you also want him to help everybody, and it becomes an issue. You need to pay people based on what you want from those people. And if I'm an owner, I get paid because the whole shop succeeds and everybody does their job. So if I can help everybody do their job better, more efficiently, et cetera, then I can get paid better. I think as a shop foreman's job for me is, do I want them producing hours? Not necessarily, but I want the whole shop producing a certain number of hours. And I think that's also a weird, I was in a meeting yesterday with somebody, and they said, well, how did you run your shop? And because they had somebody that took a vacation, and then the other guy wanted the bonus, but the bonus wasn't there because they didn't hit the hours. And I told them in my shop, we were a 192-hour shop because we had 4 techs. We want 120% productivity. So our structure was built around 192 hours. And if we had 3 guys that week, we still expected 192 hours. We wanted our people to, step up to the plate, when someone's on vacation, take a little more effort. But if we didn't hit our hours, we couldn't pay our bonuses. We couldn't make that happen because the money's not there. Bruce, it was an interesting thing to work with you on your pay plans, because you took a very long time to really think about it and really, make the adjustment or the changes. Why did it take you so long, or what were you really concerned with? What was it all about?
Well, when I started back in 1985, I had this very altruistic vision of paying all my employees on a salary basis. And then after a period of time, I realized that human beings are motivated by getting paid for what they could do, so flat rate became kind of our standard really up until last year. We were a flat rate shop, and I would help the guys occasionally if it was slow. But I realized, and this is why it took me some time, I realized our industry, our profession has evolved, and that just like, I often use the dental analogy, I work in emergency medicine, often the medical analogy, that there needs to be some type of base compensation for the technician, something so that there is not this mercenary feeling that, hey, if it snows for 3 days, I'm getting nothing. There needs to be a comfort level. And so I had to really evaluate that and make sure that I was comfortable with a hybrid pay plan. And the answer is, it's been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. It's made people feel like they're part of something greater. They're no longer just a tool to get cars fixed. We've got their back, they've got our back. It's been transformative in our business. But it took a while. I've been doing this for 30 some years for me to switch that paradigm on in our head. But once we did, we recruited some phenomenal people and who came out of dealerships. I got 3 techs, actually now 4 techs that have come out of dealerships, and they were good techs, not lube techs. These were top of the line techs who wanted that non-mercenary culture. And by mercenary, I mean, the flat rate system.
Right.
And I think I think that was really what took me some time to do it. But once I grasp it, and once I could articulate it well to folks that I was meeting and speaking with that were interested in working for us, it just made sense. It just flowed. So there's a base, there's a cushion, there's a a protection that acknowledges your professionalism, and there's only an upside with it. And they love that. And that's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I was a part of that, so I love
you
it.
were, you were.
And funny thing is, we've built, I don't know, probably built 1,000 pay plans for shops in the last 15 years. Every time that we put these types of pay plans, there's an adjustment, and the shop takes this leap forward kind of thing. And I think you said something really important, is they don't feel like they're just a tool to fix cars. You're part of the team. You're part of the, and you're gonna sacrifice a little bit when the thing's slow, but you're not going to starve. I'm never going to let you starve, right? We're going to help you take care of your family.
It's a commitment to invest in them as a person. We say that professionally and personally, helping them develop.
Yeah.
And then providing things, like medical, dental, 401k, those things add an additional layer of like, hey, we actually care about you.
Right.
I'm surprised even at this point that there are still shops where, they don't have some of these really fundamental benefits that I feel they're like essential, frankly. If you really want to hire good people and have good people be part of a quality team that does, quality work and moves forward with the industry.
One of the, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I always ask people what attracted them to our business. You read my ad, my help wanted ad. What stood out, and they always mention respect. But the other thing they mention is this little tagline we have: a career, not just a job. And I think that's a huge differentiator. Especially I think for younger folks, they're looking for a career. They're looking for a place to call home. They want to feel like, hey, this is where I'm going to be. And we talk about, younger folks don't want to stay in one place and they move from place to place, but that's because they're searching for a home. They're searching for something that meets their needs. So that
something that's meaningful.
Yes. Everyone has said, I saw that line, a career, not just a job, and I'm sick of having a job and I want a career. And that has been the common denominator for folks.
That was the approach that we took with our advisor mastery program. Is we were creating, when we put it on the drawing board, we were like, well, what are we doing?
Right.
We're creating career-oriented advisors, not just somebody who's there to do a job, but somebody who's there to stay and live and grow with the business.
Yes.
And
and that's important to show that there's opportunity, there's room for growth, and there's a pathway to that, right?
With an industry that is so with a high turnover rate, as well as like a very low opportunity to find good talent, the most important thing is to take care of the people that you do end up having and give them a career path that they can follow.
Absolutely.
When they work with you. If you're not doing that, then get in a different industry, because it's not going to help you out.
When we sign somebody on, that's one of the things we do. Jim mentioned a dream sheet. We have a dream sheet as well. And we talk to them about short-term goals and midterm goals and long-term goals. But we also have them fill out a career path. Where do you want to be in 3 years with us? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And they start visualizing that. And they often go, nobody's ever asked me these questions before. It's a little uncomfortable, but really it's not. It's because we care. We want to see you succeed. I want to know what your goals are, because maybe those goals ideally can be met right here in Atlantic Motorcar. Maybe you don't have to be at Atlantic Motorcar and go to here and go to there. Maybe we can grow together organically. That's the goal, I think, and should be the goal of every business.
Wouldn't it be great if every business owner, every shop owner figured that out and got it? I think there's when you talk about the younger generation, they quote unquote, they move around and they don't stick to and blah, blah, blah. There's so much negative connotation to that. But one of the things that I enjoy about the younger generations is when they find something that they can be passionate about, they dig in hard.
Absolutely.
and they work hard and they want to be a part of that. Jim, you said that you have air conditioning now, your floors are epoxied, all of that stuff. When did you change your pay plans, and from where did you go and to where?
Well, we changed our pay plan probably a good 4 or 5 years ago. And we were in a flat rate system at that point. Our pay plan now, everybody has a base pay. As you know, lack of better words, maybe a minimum, which is not so minimum. I would have worked for that
back in the day.
right today. What they're calling minimum, I can only dream about earning 25 years ago. So I guess we changed that. You know, we changed that a while ago, and it's just been a pay plan that has worked for us. I realize it's probably not a long-term pay plan, although it's been that long already, but we have to adjust with the market changing and you know, people's expectations and, you know, kind of change with the times.
I think the basic theory behind the plan fits Maslow's hierarchy of needs, fits motivational, etc. So I think the basic theory is great, but I think there will be adjustments as the business changes and as the industry changes. You know, the basics behind the pay plans that we build here are, we want to pay them about 60% of what they could earn in that position for showing up, for being here.
Right, exactly.
As a base so that we create the idea that you're not going to have to worry about paying your bills, your food on the table, etc. And then we want to take the other 40% and we want to give that to them based on them doing what we want them to do. And
remember, do you remember we went and did a shop evaluation, and the owners they thought that their service advisor was greedy and was taking advantage of their customers. He was selling too much. And then when we dug deeper, his performance pay, the stuff that he was getting paid for, what his reward was focused on was the things that made him look greedy. I can't remember exactly what it was. But
I can tell you exactly where it was and who it was. I won't, because we don't do that here. But unless they're on, and then I would go, "Oh, that's you," but it isn't. The problem was that the owners were very, very compassionate and maybe overly so to their customers, and yet when they built their pay plans, they built a pay plan that literally the whole reward for the employee was on selling as much as possible, as often as possible. And you can't, put that carrot out there, and then when they go to grab the carrot, whip them, because
they did exactly what you set them up to do.
That's the carrot you designed, right? That's the way you made it happen. So I got a great, I want to go here. We're getting close to the end. It always goes so fast. But I think a lot of shop owners are like, how would I even introduce a new pay plan to my staff? Because that's like, oh my gosh, we've been doing this. They're used to this. When you mess with people's pay plans, that's a big deal. So Bruce, because you've done it recently, how did you go about, explaining to your employees that this is a new thing that's actually better for you?
So we had a team meeting, and we actually did it individually, one-on-one, and then we did a team meeting, talked about we're doing new plans, and then we sat down one-on-one with each person. And the important thing to share with everybody was nobody was going backwards. Right. Nobody was going to take a hit. There was, as a matter of fact, everybody was going to have an increase, and it became a clear pathway that it showed them how to, it's like kind of trying to teach somebody how to play a card game. If you don't tell them how to succeed, they don't know. So we took the time to say, here's how you succeed. These are the drivers. If you do this, you get this. If you do this, you get this. And it became so much more clearer to them. And it reinforced positive behaviors, which is what you want to do, right? You want to reinforce positive behaviors, things that improve the technician's life, things that improve the shop's life, things that improve the outcome for the clients. So a universal announcement saying, hey guys, we're going to a different pay plan system. It's no longer going to be this all or nothing flat rate. And then we'll sit down with each of you and we'll go over it and answer any questions you need. And they loved it. They loved it. So
did you get any kickback? Did you get any I don't want to do
don't-
this, or
No, I don't think anybody had any complaints. They had concerns because it was a little more complicated than saying you're going to make X number of dollars an hour. There were certain tiers based on achievements in terms of education and training. But once they understood that, they understood, hey, I can actually increase my own income without even having to go and ask for a raise. If I do more training, if I get these certifications, if I do this, I can actually bring my compensation level up. And
Just a random
Go ahead.
question there, Bruce. Do you do additional bonus based on training hours?
we do.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they do. Of course we do. That's what we want them to be
Just out of
trained. We want them
curiosity.
excited
and,
about
and
training.
training has always been mandatory. We always say that there has to be a minimum of one training day per quarter, right? Which is only like
8
8 hours,
Yeah.
8 hours a quarter, right? Not a lot, right? We always go way over that. And we're now bringing training in house, which is another story, but that's part of the reason we bought the new building, was to actually be doing our training right here rather than having to send people away.
Which it looks
We can-
beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can't wait to
appreciate
come
that.
see it.
Yeah.
One of the other things I think is really key is in one system, they kind of feel powerless. So if there aren't
Right.
enough cars, if there are not enough hours, there's no power for me here. And in the other system, they look at it and go, well, I can make $4 more an hour if I just do these things, or I can make
Yeah.
$12 more an hour. And then I think you said something really important, Bruce. And so I want to kind of bring it back out and kind of reiterate it. We never take people backwards.
Right.
When you change pay plans, you cannot. So, if you're wondering, how do I pay that? I'm already having a hard time paying what I'm paying now. You have to adjust your labor rate and your profit margins in order to make that happen. But you can't take people. You take people backwards, and it's over with. Jim,
Absolutely.
when you made the change in your business, how did you do it?
Well, it started off as a nightmare because nobody wanted their pay plan changed. God bless you. Nobody wanted their pay plan messed with. So what I had to do is actually put on paper and go through, the biggest difference in the technician's pay plan for us is your productivity. From a 15-hour stretch, is a $9 difference. So a lot of it is based on the technician himself doing the training, which is 12 hours per quarter. So it's a little higher, but not bad. But we do that all in-house. It's almost a guarantee. So I had some scenarios, if you do only 30 hours a week, if you do 40 hours a week, 45 hours a week, you'll make X, X, and X. And it took a while for them to kick it in because they really was skeptical about losing money. And it wasn't designed for them to lose money. And but they also had to put their share in. The part that they didn't like, you talk about the 60% and the 40%. 60% is a guarantee. The 40% they earn, and they're accountable to a certain degree for earning that other 40%. I have an open shop. If you want to work it till 7 o'clock at night, I don't enforce it. I don't encourage it. But if you want to finish up on a job in order to get your hours, I don't have a problem with that. All my guys, once I trust you, you can come and go as you please. You can come in on a Saturday if you want. You got a key to my shop. I trust you. Just don't ever breach that trust.
All my guys had keys, and the only caveat I had was you can't be here by yourself working on a car.
Right.
So
for safety issues, you don't really want them here by themselves.
yeah.
But so I had a little struggle with it until I could actually, or until they were proven that they could earn more money. But, some of them didn't like it at all. And maybe I did a poor job presenting it. but and now they love it. So
Yeah.
I think it was a success, but everybody is always skeptical when you're playing with their pockets.
Well, and I think, if you haven't, if your people really, really trust you, and I'm not saying that your people don't trust you or didn't at that time, Jim, but I think if they really, really trust you, and you guys are doing things like dream sheets. I mean, how many shop owners sit down with their employees and go, how can we help you get what you want in the next 5 years?
I'd love to see
it.
those. Can you guys share those in the network?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to see those. And I'm sure there's some other shops there that would like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no
Share,
problem with that.
share it with you right now if you'd like.
Yeah.
So we have about 10 minutes left, and because we didn't start right on the hour, but so why do you think so many shop owners are hanging on to that old either salary or hourly or flat rate system and not looking forward?
It's sorry, I'm jumping. It's what they know.
Yeah.
It's what they're comfortable with.
It's
It's what they've been
comfort.
doing for
It's
30
comfort.
years.
Change is hard, and technicians are creatures of habit. I'm a technician, so I can say that. And we all, by human nature, do what's safe, and what's safe is what we know, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
What we're comfortable with.
absolutely.
But there's so much. I mean, so I've known Bruce. I don't know how long I've known you, but it's been a while, and I've known Jim for now going on 10 years, probably something like that. Close.
Yeah, we were up there.
So how transition wise, making that transition from the shop owner technician to the shop owner, mentor, etc. How difficult has that been? How rewarding has that been? Let me start with Jim, and then we'll go to you, Bruce. Making that transition
From technician, I'm sorry, I was
in the old days I ran my
dream sheet. So
in the old days I ran my shop a specific way, and over the last 10 years I've had to make some really major adjustments to not only my business but how I think about my business, how I think about my employees. How have you done that? I mean, how has that happened?
Well, I think educating yourself has a lot to do with it, whether it's a podcast through CARM or one of your gear platform educations. It helps you make that transition a little easier and know how to deal with that type of situation. But I don't know. I guess I just kind of grew into it. I wish I had a better answer for you in that respect.
But you started somewhere. You had to, right?
Where I wanted to go and where I wanted to be and how I wanted to do it. And I guess progressively, I look back over the years that it just got to me. I don't know. I really wish I had a better answer for you.
That's okay. You did all right. You're okay. Bruce, what about you? I mean, you've been in this thing 30 years. I'm a technician. You're a technician. And yet we've made these major kind of changes in the way we think and what we do. How have you done that?
So I think I've gotten too old to crawl under cars anymore. So
forced.
But I was actually under the dash of an Audi today that had a wiring issue. But I think I've always enjoyed being a teacher. I enjoyed being a mentor. I've always enjoyed giving back. In my earlier days, perhaps I was too busy running my business to really focus on giving back. Now I've kind of gotten to the point where we have it structured well, where I can spend an hour with a tech, I can spend a couple hours with a tech, I can spend time with somebody that maybe has a question on a employee thing, whatever it may be. And I've enjoyed that. So it really comes about by structuring the business well. It comes about by taking a mindset that I'm investing in these people. They're not, as I said earlier, not just tools. These are actually people I'm investing in. And it becomes kind of just a habit. And it's a tremendously rewarding thing. I've had my shop foreman came to work for us just under 11 years ago. And he was basically working in another shop as a tire tech. Now this guy is, teaching digital scopes to my guys. We have what we call schoolhouse circles, where we get a unique car in, we'll go, hey, come gather around here, check this all out. He has grown tremendously. I take personal pride in that. I saw this guy grow up. I saw him, go from an apartment to a mobile home, to owning his own house, to getting married and having a family and being a scout leader and giving back to his community. And that's tremendously rewarding. I mean, that's more rewarding to me right now than anything I can get financially.
Yeah.
Far more rewarding.
But I think I think shop owners will say, but you invest in these people and then they leave you and they take all of that away from you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
so what's the great Richard Branson quote, about investing in your people? You invest in your people so they can leave, but you treat them so well they don't want to leave, right? There's nothing worse than having low skilled people that you have not invested in, that you're struggling with, that they're struggling with, that they're unhappy. The more I can train that person to be autonomous, to be high functioning, to train them to take a systems approach to diagnostic and service, not just changing parts, but understanding systems. That person becomes so valuable to our culture. We want to keep them. They don't want to leave, and you acknowledge them and you reward them and you grant them respect, and you now let them start to teach and mentor other people. They want that. But most people love helping other people. And that keeps them in your culture. And that's a culture that you're building. So why would you leave that? Where else are you going to find that in our profession?
But I think that you also have to understand that sometimes it's the right thing for them to do, to leave. They've come to a point where I've given them what I can give them, and they need to go out. I terminated 2 really good employees that I worked with for a long time that I really liked because they got stuck. They needed to go do something else to fulfill their lives. And both of them today, they love me. They were like, it was tough when you let me go, but it was the right thing,
If you're a technician and you want to go on to be a shop owner, first of all, I'd counsel you against that. But if you want to do that, I'd be the first one to say, listen, let's go do that. Let me back you financially. Let me help you let me coach you. Let me tell you let me help you grow your business. There's no reason you really have to per se let them go, right? I mean, you can continue to be part of their dream, right? I mean,
well, we have a lot of shop owners that are buying their 4th, 5th, 6th shop, and they're making that person in essence, this is yours, and
absolutely.
you get, I mean, I get some of the benefit, but you get the large benefit from this, and I'm helping you. So there's a lot of ways. We're towards the end. I got to ask the one last question. I'm going to ask all 3 of you. We'll start with Kent. We'll go to Jim, and then we'll end up with Bruce. What piece of advice for someone that's listening to this and saying, man, I want to know, or I want to make changes in my business. I want to create these kind of pay plans that really motivate and excite my people. What piece of advice would you have? I'll start with Kent. You're first.
Well, there was a lot. I took a lot of notes. But the one that we didn't really get into, but I wanted to mention that if you're creating a plan that affects somebody's pay based on certain key metrics, make sure that the person has direct control over those metrics.
Never put any kind of a bonus or pay in play that they have no control over.
That they have no control over, right? If it's a technician and it's a specific, item that only the service advisor has control over, and you're basing the tech's pay off of that, don't do that, because then they can't win, and they don't want to play a game they can't win.
You have to make it so they can succeed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you, Ken. Jim?
You're talking about the final thoughts here, or no?
Yeah, kind of like what's your advice? What would you tell the other shop owners? What are your final thoughts, buddy?
All right. Well, I think the most important thing you can do as a shop owner is learn your numbers. I think if you don't know your numbers, you can't pay your people properly, you can't train properly. I think that is the most. If you're a shop owner that's bashful to ask questions about your numbers, I think it's a very important factor that you need to learn, because when you have the numbers there, then you can react quickly. You can change course if you need to. By understanding your numbers, the rest will fall into place. Pay your people well and build a great culture. and a culture that people want to work at. And don't be afraid to run a good business. It's a three-way win. You know, the employee, the company, and the client. All three must win. And if they all win, that's when the magic happens.
Yep.
So, but my number one thing, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, my life changed once I learned how to analyze the numbers. Period.
And understand your business. That way I know what I can pay and what I can do. And
exactly.
How do I create that so I can pay those people? If I'm not where I need to be, how do I get there? We have a great numbers class.
Afraid. A lot of shop owners are afraid because they don't understand their numbers, you know, and it's very important.
I think they feel stuck. Like there's just no way to really make a living in this business. And so I have a crappy job that I'm just going to have the rest of my life because I can't do anything else. But the truth is so far from that. I mean, I look at you guys, you're very successful, you have great businesses, you make all the money you want to make, you have a very fulfilled life. You do other things. You know, I did want to mention though, we have a great numbers class. I think it's everything you need to know about the numbers on our Gear for Shops. It's a 2-hour class. It's easy to take, but it really has all the real fundamentals there. Bruce, you get to end it up. What's your thoughts for these people?
Excuse me, Cecil, one more thing. Sorry, Bruce. Is I think as a shop owner too, if you don't invest in a coach, I think that's a big mistake. I've learned so much from you guys, and be part of a shop owners group where you have the support from other shop owners that are not there to make fun of you. They're not there everybody is at different levels, but I don't think anybody's trying to push the next guy down. And there's plenty of support out there to help shop owners achieve their goals.
It is kind of funny. We had a meeting with a new guy in one of our financial meetings recently, and his labor rate was probably $24, $25 lower than everybody else's in the group. And when it came to labor rates, he was like, I've already raised my labor rate. Don't look at that. You know, it's kind of like everybody's kind of lifting you up and trying to, you know, help you however they can. So that great advice, Jim. Greatly appreciate that. All right, now Bruce, take her away, baby.
For me, it's invest in other people, invest in your team, invest in your clients, and then make what you do every day for yourself, for your clients, and for your team members fun. Make it enjoyable, make it meaningful. If you have that, you've got a great culture. The rest of that stuff will fall into place. It's very simple. Invest and be sincere, be authentic, and make it a fun place to be. And you will thrive. You will do very, very well.
Thank you guys so much for your time today and for your knowledge and for your friendship over the years. You can find us at
wearetheinstitute.com.
Yes. And you can also find The Leading Edge, which is what we're doing here, our podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, Podbean.
Pretty much anywhere that you could listen to a podcast. And we also post these episodes on our YouTube channel, which doesn't just have these episodes. We have some other content on there as well that you can go check out.
Thank you very much.